This is Driven By, a podcast where we explore the intersection between passion and purpose, sitting down and having conversations with risk takers, change makers, builders, and entrepreneurs to find out what it is that drives them.
What is up, guys? My name is Starr Hawkins, Baby Momma Fit. I am a trainer, Pilates instructor, mom, influencer, fitness guru, whatever you want to call me, from Miami. Well, not from Miami, from DC, lived in Asheville, North Carolina, but currently based in Miami.
I am so freaking excited to have this conversation with you, only because I have officially met you in person, and it had been a long time of me just sort of seeing you out in the social setting, social world, because we have some mutual friends in Miami. And then to have met you in real life here in DC when you put on the trainer camp for a year of ours, I was so very excited about your energy, about the way that you kind of conduct yourself, connect with everybody. And it makes so much sense that you have had such a successful career in fitness. So excited to have the conversation with you today. I think it's best just to maybe start with how you've gotten to this place where you do have influence, you are recognized, and you are building community, not just in Miami, but globally. So maybe we can talk about how you got to where you are today.
All right, well, let's go back.
Yeah.
Speaking about DC, I actually started in retail at a clothing store called Up Against the Wall. I don't know if you remember that clothing store in DC.
No.
I was a manager there. I was in retail. I love people. I never really was good at commission. It's not like I really wanted to sell you something, but I more so want to get to know you and become friends with you. And then if you buy something, it was cool. So I feel like that part of my story made the fitness transition easy, because at the end of the day, you're kind of selling a lifestyle to people,
Right.
or, you're selling your style of fitness. But what really got me into fitness was I got sober. I had moved, by that point, I had moved to Miami. My daughter was, I think, 2 or 3 years old. My life was not working for me. I was doing um, the Miami circuit. I feel like when you first move to Miami, everyone kind of does it. And I'll age myself if I name the clubs right now, but there's always a party here. There's always something going on, and you can definitely find the wrong kind of people living here.
Sure.
Not even the wrong kind of people. It's just like nightlife. Nightlife is very easily accessible, and free drinks, and it doesn't even have to be at night. You could be at a pool party on a Tuesday, so
Literally.
I had to get myself healthy and well. And with getting sober, I needed something to do with all this extra energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to apologize for my dogs ahead of time if they bark. They are crazy.
You're
Okay. They
good.
are crazy.
I love it.
But I had all this extra anxiety and energy, and I didn't really know how to deal with we'll deal with anything, actually, deal with life on life's terms. I think, for a long time I was numbing myself with alcohol, and I always could keep a job, and I always had people that liked me, because um I am good at talking to people and being social. And I think it was a way of survival for me, because my mother also had substance abuse issues. So I always had to
Mm-hmm.
be likable to be able to get out of those situations. So yeah, I found fitness. I started working the desk at Barry's Boot Camp. Um, and everybody would always be like, you should really teach classes. You're so fun, and you got such a great personality. Because I would just have so much fun. Everything
Right.
I do, I try to have a good time doing it. And I tried out for Barry's, I want to say 2 or 3 times. I think maybe 3 times. And I failed at it every single time. It just
Yeah.
didn't make sense. It hadn't clicked. It wasn't aligned with me yet. Right. I didn't understand, you know, I mean, I understood why we were doing what we were doing, but maybe I just didn't understand the anatomy, or it just wasn't clicking. It was like Spanish, it was it wasn't connecting. So, um, I saw one of my close friends who also was getting sober. He started doing a Pilates certification. And I was kind of at the point where I had failed so many times that I was like, the only way I'm doing this Pilates certification is if somebody approaches me.
Sure.
And that was that ego, and that I was sick of failing, I think. And one of the girls from the Pilates studio, thank God she did. She actually did approach me.
Mm-hmm.
And the first training I didn't make, because at the time I was while I was getting sober, I was in a very toxic relationship, and me and my ex were like, I think I caught him cheating for like the 75th time.
Oh,
And I didn't follow through. And then finally I was like, you know what? I kind of did it, and I did it for me, and not him, like to prove him something. And my career kind of took off from there. I think like with the Pilates, they really kind of like just threw me in, and I would
hmm.
still get anxiety and anxious, and I would do push-ups in the bathroom, and I still to this day get anxiety teaching and talking, and I still get scared sometimes, which is really weird, but I do. But
Hmm.
um it really like got me the right clients. I started teaching like the Miami's, who's from the Pilates. I started getting the right kind of clients. And then slowly that turned into what Baby Mama is. All my clients got
Hmm.
pregnant. COVID happened. I started just training pregnant girls and moms. And then they all got their abs back. And then they got pregnant again because it was looking good.
Yeah.
um, yeah. And I developed an online through COVID. I'm just like,
Right.
fitness has led me into so many different other things. I did get the job at Barry's I
Yeah.
always kept it real good with them. Like, even though I failed several times, I've always kept good relationships. I think that's important. And now I have like a good time slot, and
Yeah.
I get full classes every so often when we're blessed. I get the good classes and the good times, and I still have clients, and I still do a little bit of Pilates as well. I just did a yoga certification, and yeah, the branch just evolved.
I'm like so impressed by your story. It's not a completely unfamiliar one with regards to, folks trying out for something, failing, and then kind of coming back and trying it again, maybe failing again. A lot of people would have given up. A lot of people would have been defeated, based off of what you shared. And to hear that sort of redirected course and found a way to get to where you are today, which I mean, you have a very recognizable brand, and you've done incredible work connecting with people and empowering them, and making them feel really, really good about the spaces that they hold and how they feel in their bodies. And just like very impressed, with what I've seen. And again, I'm only seeing what's, being displayed online. I know that there's other experiences that you've had for yourself where you've had to kind of overcome, talking about your journey to sobriety. I mean, it's a lot, right? It's a lot that you've kind of mastered, if you will, or you're continuing to grow into. The journey to sobriety, something that I feel like I've heard from a few folks, in fitness, as fitness being sort of that outlet, that place where you kind of become more familiar with yourself, or you become better in touch with yourself. The way that you described it was you got sober and then you had all this extra energy and all this extra, what do you do with it? I'm wondering, as you reflect back on that transition, what were some of these like milestone moments for you? Sort of these moments of like, yeah, okay, this is exactly where I need to head on and keep going towards.
Um, I mean, I think just the anxiety before teaching went away more and more as
Hmm.
I would teach. I think,
Yeah.
I would teach classes, and then they would be full, and I'd have to add a class that day. Like I'd be like, listen, just come back at 12. I'll do one at 12 on like the fly. I mean, maybe it was only like 10 or 12 machines, but like people were showing up for me. I think, when you start hearing how you're helping people, like especially even online too, like people just have, we all struggle with being fit in the day to day and even just getting sober. I just started speaking more about my sobriety because I feel like I'm finally in the place to do it. And
Hmm.
I don't think my sobriety story looks like everyone else. Like I don't think my life right now looks like how every maybe sober person's life is, or what people
Sure.
assume that it should be. So I do like to share it a little bit more, but I think when you start helping people and you start feeling good and you just do these things that like at one point I feel like my life got kind of dark, like obviously with the addictions, and through fitness and helping people, I was able to like build myself back up, like
Hmm.
build up that self-esteem. Sorry.
We're celebrating it. No.
I think it like you build like the esteem back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like through that I was able to build more confidence, and just like my day to day got better, like you're
Hmm.
walking in your purpose, and days get easier, and you just feel so like a lot of those things just they started to align better with me.
Yeah. I think it's so important that you talk about like your sobriety journey. And I know you indicated that maybe it's different than what people should think that it should look like. You know, I wonder if there really is a normal, right? Like, I don't know if anybody should be dictating what someone's sober life should look like. I know some of the content you've recently put out has been kind of highlighting like the differences and saying like, you think my sober life should be boring, but my sober life is fun. I'm doing all the same things that you would do, just like without, alcohol to kind of make like quote unquote, make it fun. And I think it's a great way to connect with people, especially in today's world where you have so many sober curious individuals and so many people that are exploring sobriety, looking for alternative ways to kind of lead their life. And I guess I would say that I don't know that there's anyone that should be dictating exactly what a sober life should look like. And so I applaud you obviously for calling it out, but at the same time, I hope that people are watching and looking and maybe putting away their judgment and kind of creating an opportunity to maybe look at their own lives and determine whether or not there's a path for sobriety for them as well, or if there's choices that they want to change or create for themselves, which I assume is ultimately what you're trying to debunk through that content, is to say
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
the
started
same.
working yeah, well, I started working with non-alcoholic, brands, like, to speak on that a little bit, and when I first started working with them, I actually thought that these brands were for sober people, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not. They're for people who just wanna be more mindful, and I think that,
Right.
maybe not everybody needs to get sober, like, I think it's fine if you don't have a problem, you should be able to have a good time, and you should be able to enjoy a drink here and there if that's what you want, but, I think sometimes it goes past that point and people don't necessarily feel good or they get more anxiety or they miss their workout. I've had so many
Mm-hmm.
clients miss workouts because of a night
Oh
of drinking.
yeah.
And all they needed to do was maybe have one non-alcoholic cocktail and they probably
Right.
would have woken up, like just mixed in one.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting. And I did start sharing it more too, because a lot of people just assumed that I was out and I was partying and I was being, like I was drinking. And
Right.
I thought that was also interesting. Like, oh, wait, you don't drink? Like, I thought you were
Mm.
drinking this whole time. So I'm like, wow, I
Yeah.
either act really drunk or I'm just really lit.
Or people just associate having like a fun time and being able to communicate and engage with people the way that you're able to do it, just because of the amazing personality you have, as like something only you could do if you were intoxicated or if you had something to drink. Before we go any further in your story and kind of double down on what you've shared, when you think back to like the littlest version of you, what did you actually want to be when you grew up?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't even know. I mean, I used to like imagine like telling my reality TV show on like, or telling my story on like VH1 behind the music.
So there's
I
always
think
been
we
a
all had
star
those
quality in
dreams,
you.
right?
Yeah.
We always had that, we all those dreams we were gonna like be on like the real world or something at one point.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. I mean, I loved fashion. I loved like fashion, Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. I loved like, reality TV growing up, um, TRL and MTV. And then I loved people.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to think, what did I actually want to be? I knew I wanted to make money because I grew up without any,
Right. Right.
but I definitely I wanted to be seen.
Yeah. Well, and then here we are. Maybe the path is like not exactly what you had expected. I mean, there's still opportunity for you to be on reality TV in some capacity if you'd like. I'm sure there's
Right.
an opportunity for you. I think you may have posted something the other day that was like, can't wait for, whatever, selling Miami to show up and I'll be
Oh
the trainer
yeah,
on
I
the
know. I
show.
want to put Callie on it. I think we
All
should put
right.
Callie on it. I said, put me on as the trainer. I would really love. I went last night to like this trekking and tiki. I don't know what it was. It was some Tarzan and Jane crap. It was like hanging from ropes, and I was like, you know what? Like this would be a good challenge. I want to
Yeah.
do like a challenge,
I think
like
you would
a
do amazing.
gladiator or a ninja warrior, but like less calisthenics. My husband could stick to that, but
Yeah, he's
yeah, I would like to
impressive.
do some sort of like challenge.
I love it. I love it. So COVID was sort of your jumping off point, right? I mean, you had spent time, doing all of the necessary training, becoming a Pilates instructor, putting yourself in a position where you can finally, come to that realization of being an actual instructor at Barry's. And then COVID happens and the world kind of shuts down and we have to shift our perspective on fitness. And we end up doing a lot of virtual fitness. And it sounds like you really get this opportunity to hone in on what you know about being a mother and what you know about your own body and like what your own experiences look like from being, going through pregnancy and all that good stuff, and applying that to also what you've picked up and kind of built for yourself in terms of fitness. I would imagine that that had to have been very surreal. And I know you still do virtual classes now. How, when you think back to the COVID times and the kind of the growth that your brand has had to right now, how is it different and how is it sort of the same?
Um, well, I loved COVID, by the way. I mean, I think that everyone was just, we were so online. I mean, that was
Yeah.
like a time where, Tiger King and making bread and, you know, cooking and air fryers, and like I just think that that was just a time that there everybody was kind of watching. For me, like I know some trainers that waited. They were like, "No, we're going to wait till the gym's open." And for me, it was
Right.
just like not a wait thing. Like I was like seeing clients in the morning, keeping my 6 feet and not telling anyone, and then going home, and I started these lives on Instagram, and I just saw so much opportunity. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna hit up Inked Magazine's live, and I'm gonna ask them if I can take it over. And I know this girl's got a ton of followers, and I know she likes to work out. I'm gonna get on a live with her, and then I'm gonna do a 1,000 squat challenge with this girl. And I mean, it was just like I wanted to be around people so much that I created like a digital, like an online community.
Yeah.
Um, and at that time I feel like we all needed it. I think right now what's more transition is people want like in-person community. The
Hmm.
retreats are big, the experiences. I think that even like just events and workouts that you go to nowadays, everything needs to be an experience. If the instructor needs to do all the things, they need to know your name, turn on the lights, turn off the lights, give you the eucalyptus towel, you know hit every single song right at the beat of the like everybody wants an experience now. And I think
Yeah.
that you know building that community in person is way more important. I think people are more about the in-person stuff again, which I love. But I do miss that virtual life because you can just hit so many more people, you know like
Yeah.
you had people. I had a girl in Singapore, doing my workouts like a day ahead, her a day behind, so like that is crazy, and that's so cool because you realize you're reaching Singapore, like
Right.
um so
You
yeah, I
really
think that
like
like sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just sitting here and thinking, I mean, you really built sort of Baby Mama Fit like from grassroots, right? Like this world where you had your clients that you had, but then you went and you were like, how do I continue to get that that fulfilling feeling of community digitally? And the way that you just expressed doing it was very strategic actually, in terms of saying, okay, well, here's how I, get the biggest community possible. It's by engaging with these different individuals or these different brands or these different groups. A lot of people don't have the capacity to do that, or the I guess maybe moxie, I don't know if that's the right word, but like the balls
Right.
basically to do that. What do you think it is about you that makes that action second nature or makes it feel so easy to do? Or is it?
So that's what I've been talking about a lot lately on socials is I have the art of inventing money. I like to invent money. And I think there's
Hmm.
something in me that is like a pit bull. I think it's like it had to have been like it was like started when I was a child, and obviously everything that I went through and the traumas, and my mom just being who she was at that time, and the physical abuse, and I even lived in a group home for a while. It just made me such a fighter that I think when some people like don't really know what to do, and not necessarily even give up, because maybe you're not giving up, maybe you're just getting your severance and you're just waiting, which a lot of people did. I don't think there was anything wrong with that. It was a great time to just be with your family. I probably should have done more of that, but that's just not in me. Like I even now I'm always thinking like what is the next thing. And that could also be my addiction in me, that addictive personality where I'm constantly zero in focusing in on something or always trying to make it better. I mean, when we're talking about COVID right now, and I'm thinking like, yeah, I did all those great things, but I could have streamlined that even better, you know I could have
Yeah.
launched my own platform sooner because I was using OnlyFans at the time, which I was using them. I had 400 women on the wrong platform. So, I could have streamlined it better. I could have actually invested more in ads, could have
Hmm.
targeted more countries that stayed closed, like, Canada. And so, like, I'm even thinking, like, I did it wrong. I could have done it better.
You're like waiting for the next pandemic. You're like,
Right.
when's the
I'm
next one
ready.
coming so that
I
I like,
am
yeah,
ready.
my
You
digital
know,
strategy is planned out.
great. But yeah, it's just like I can't not, like I just don't know how to I don't have chill. I mean, I'm either like working or I am chilling. I'm in my
Yeah.
underwear with my dogs on the sofa, like half asleep. Like my friends laugh because I'll come over to like hang out with them, but I'll just sleep. Like, let's watch a movie. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like,
Well, I mean, and I think I would be remiss to say that you have like a young daughter, which you've already talked a little bit about, and she's incredible, and having the opportunity to have met her was great.
thank
I would
you.
imagine like you're kind of creating this really beautiful like superwoman for her to look up to, and I know the relationship you all have is very close as well. As you're kind of doing all the things that you're doing and setting up the different communities and different ways to engage with people and sort of living the lifestyle that you're living, I wonder, are you hearing feedback from her, or are you hoping to kind of like instill some things in her that she'll be able to kind of take with her as she kind of grows into her own person?
I mean, I definitely have to take her feedback because I think that she, like TikTok was an animal that I had to get, right? I had to like
Yeah.
understand that. I had to start making that a part of, Instagram. And I think I was even a little bit late than most people were on TikTok. Um, and like that was her thing. Like she knew how to do that before I did. She knows the trends, she knows the songs. I know if she's listening to something, I need to be posting a video to it. So like her opinion definitely matters to me. And I listen. And even if she doesn't tell me, I watch.
Yeah.
But do I try? Yeah, I definitely try to instill like stuff in her. Like this was her second year of coding camp. I'm like, you need to be a woman in
Oh,
tech.
cool.
You need to learn how to build apps. You need to learn how to build websites. Like this internet stuff isn't a joke. Or like this is like a business, and she
Hmm.
sees me doing the business. I mean, guarantee like you never know with school and stuff, they'll probably be teaching this stuff eventually and maybe she won't have that one up, but um I don't mind if she uses social media to grow her business or to use it as a job, but I want it to be that, if
Right.
that's what it is. Like
Right.
just having social media, I think sometimes can be like a negative thing in a way,
Hmm.
like it takes away from being present. I think that there's like a lot of new studies about all these girls who are feeling like, having eating disorders and committing suicide. There's like specifically about young girls.
Yeah.
So I know I spend a lot of time on social media, so I can't tell her not to have a social media. I mean, I could, but you know what I
Because
mean?
your
Like,
mom.
I definitely think it made Baby Mama Fit. Like, I wouldn't have done this without social media. So I can't sit here and say I don't like social media. I do. I love likes. I love going on there, and I go to London and I go on TikTok and I find the best restaurants to go to, the best
Right.
rooftops in DC, the this, the that. Like, it's a great source, but it is also a job. And if you're not making money on it, it doesn't make sense in that sense. Like I don't want you investing so much time in it. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a weird line. Like I try to instill stuff in her, but then again, it's like I want her to go to school. I want her to like, you know,
Yeah.
I want
I
her
mean,
to
you're
like do
really,
the other
it's a
stuff.
fine line, right? Because it's essentially, you're right. It's your job. And to hear your outlook on it, I think is true to most content creators that, are actively utilizing social media as a means of like, generating income and streams of income. It does become more of a job and tool than it is that kind of like mindless scrolling for no reason kind of thing. And I would imagine too, part of the way that you're thinking about framing going to, you know, coding camp, which is such an incredible opportunity and something I wish I maybe had done. That's different from what you had grown up around and what you had grown experiencing. And so it's so amazing to kind of hear how you two kind of like team up and she provides feedback for you and you're providing, guidance for her. And I'm like very excited to see like all the things that she does in the future because she's got like such an incredible role model, I think, in you, which I know like not everybody would maybe think that they'd pass judgment. They'd be like, no, like, moms shouldn't be like out doing TikToks and whatever. And you've done such a good job showcasing this like world where it's like, no, I'm raising my child like perfectly fine. She's like a completely functioning human being. And we have like an open line of communication. And I just think it speaks to, again, that, Baby Mama Fit brand. You have a daughter, like you have a child, and you're in fitness, and you're kind of cultivating this like this inclusive brand that's able to help, other moms, kind of meet their goals and so forth. And it's very impressive and it's good to see.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So you've been doing this now for a while. It's not that long, but it's long enough, right? Like the journey has been significant. If you date back to like kind of when you initially, started working the desk at Berries to where we are today, and sky's the limit, there's still lots of opportunity for you. I'm curious if there's been like one distinct aha moment for you where you were like, I knew it, like this is exactly what I was supposed to be doing this whole time.
Mm. I wouldn't say like one. I'm trying to think like one. I couldn't say one. I know there's been like several moments where it's just been like, this is it, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, literally it's definitely it definitely was a lot like the comments during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
helping people get their confidence back, helping people, they were going through divorces or whatever they're going through, just people telling you that you're helping them. Um, I think basically being able to have financial freedom for a little bit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I have financial freedom right now because life,
Inflation.
but but you know what I mean? Like being able to work anywhere. You know what it was is when I started, it was like studio to studio, eat in the car, drive here. I basically had to
Mm-hmm.
say yes to everything all the time. And I
Yeah.
think when you get to start saying no to stuff, like that's when you kind of know, like, I would take a job and if I mean, if you're familiar with Miami, I would see clients in Aventura, then drive down to Pinecrest, then go to Miami.
Oof.
It's like 30 minutes this way, 30 minutes this way, 40 minutes that way. And I would eat in my car and like and then I would teach at a studio and maybe, no shade to the studio, but you're getting paid like $50 and you're teaching 6 classes or 4 classes
Mm-hmm.
back to back. And then you're running home to eat and then pick up your kid and then do it all over again. So I think once I got to be able to say no to things, that's when I was like, oh, this is it. This is good. Like you can kind of pick the jobs you want. And that was huge. And I mean, I never thought that I think a big one for me is like what I always grew up thinking is like once you have a house, like you have like that's what I saw family as like a house because my
Mm-hmm.
house was always so unstable. So I think once I was able to actually buy my own house, I just felt like I was an adult and wow, this is great. But now that I have a house and I realize I have to pay for everything that goes wrong with it, it's kind of ghetto. Just kidding. But for me, that was it. That was the one like I think that was probably my happiest, like giving my daughter a stable house, you know,
I, yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
home.
I mean, fitness is a grind. Like, it's a grind when you do it full time. It's not something that is for everybody.
I know.
Full-time fitness is not for everybody, and you really do have to be committed to, and you have to love it. You have to really, really love the programming, the driving from studio to studio, the trying to remember everyone's name, building a community, cultivating an experience for people, finding ways to distinguish yourself. It can get exhausting.
It's
It can
exhausting.
get really, really exhausting.
Yeah.
In all the good that's happened, right? Like the ability to create a stable home for your daughter, the ability to create a brand that is, you know, got lots of different affiliations and to be able to like be your own boss in a lot of ways. I would imagine there's been challenges. What would you say is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome while you've,
Being myself, being authentic, you
yeah.
know, like I think at the end of the day, like if you have a million followers, you can be whoever you want to be. Like brands don't care. They don't care. They want your followers. They want to steal your
Hmm.
community. But I think when you're starting out and you want to be authentic to yourself, people don't get it. And it doesn't look cool until it's cool. So like being this loud personality, having tattoos, you know, like kind of just being, I've always been loud. Like, I'm just loud, you know? I look loud, I am loud. A lot of people don't know that I'm mixed. They assume that I'm Hispanic, but
Mm,
my dad's black, my mom's white. So, you know, I just stand out. I stand out. I've been called aggressive, and sometimes that's not for everyone, you know? Like, I love to
right.
twerk, I love to dance, I love to, you know, just have a good time and take up space. And I think for a lot of brands that wasn't always accepted, you know, or something that I might do might not look as bad on someone that's like, you know, 5'9", 110 pounds,
Right.
blonde, you know, it might look cute. It might look like TikTok, but let's say I
Right.
do it, you know, and because I got a big old booty and a bunch of tattoos, I look like a porn star. It's just like, you know, so a lot of brands that didn't translate at first, you know,
Right.
so a lot of people were like, you know, we like her, but or they made assumptions. They don't know me, so they assume I'm one way, and then they get to know me, and they're like, "Oh my god, this girl's harmless." Like, she's an actual vibe, you know? I talk about this a lot because of, like, branding and stuff, and I really wanna be who I am, but at the end of the day, I wanna get the bag, you know? So, like, even just cleaning up, like, I started with butt fitness, so I was the booty girl. So,
Hmm.
I'm gonna post myself in a bikini, you know? I've
Right.
had Barry's Boot Camp tell me I couldn't post it. I've had, you know,
Mm,
jobs tell me, like, stuff, and at the end of the day, like, will anybody tell me that now? No,
right.
because I have followers. Like,
Right.
it's like it's just hard to be yourself. And then, you know, like, I will say, like, I wanted to work with big brands, and a lot of brands, you know, didn't like whatever. Maybe it was the twerking or maybe it was the tattoos. But then you have these wave of like strong women, um, even athletes, you know, they can have like the long, colorful nails, or, you know,
Hmm.
tattooed up, or, you know, you got Megan the Stallion, she's with Nike and she twerks
Yeah.
at every single one of her concerts, and she talks about like being ratchet, it being this and being that, and it's accepted because now it's a part of our culture, so
Yep.
everybody wants it. So it's like, you know, but I feel like I was kind of being who I was, and being a mom, and being fully tattooed, and looking how I look, or looking exotic, not looking maybe as mainstream as everybody else looks. I don't know how to say it without like
That's
not being
okay.
politically correct, but yeah, I think just the hardest part has been being myself, you know? People
Right.
accept me. It's just trying to get the big brands too, so that I can be, you know, out there for everyone, which is what I
Right.
want. I want to be out there for everyone because I am the single mom, you know, like I
Hmm.
am the girl with the tattoos. I am the girl who doesn't maybe feel like going to a Pilates class and listening to house music, which by the way, I'm starting to like house music, but you know, or doesn't want to listen
Welcome.
to classical, slow, like doesn't want to go and feel awkward. They want to go and be like,
Right.
"Oh, what's up, girl? How's your day? Like, did you hear that new City Girl song? Oh my God, I did. Did you go to Live last night? Guess what? I did too. Or did you go to Komodo? And
Yeah.
yes, you know, like I'm like the other girl. I'm not, which there's nothing wrong with the other girl either, but I want to be
Right.
there for I want to be like
All
the Walmart
people.
of fitness. I want to be everywhere. I want to be everybody
Yeah.
can go to Walmart.
Well, I mean, it's inclusive. Like there's a level of
Yeah.
inclusivity and like cultivating a space for everyone to feel comfortable, which I think is hard in fitness, especially, if you've been boutique fitness for, a while and you have, right? You've been, working Barry's boot camp, and Barry's is a bit better about this, like in terms of creating space for, all different types of people to kind of walk through the door. But boutique fitness is a tough nut to crack. And there's like, issues with accessibility, making sure that everyone feels comfortable, making sure that people feel safe in a space, etc. And so having the opportunity to be authentic and be yourself could be what is necessary, and for some people to feel like they're welcomed. And I think it's an important thing, like just in general, that most boutique fitness studios should think about is how do you create safe, comfortable spaces for people to be empowered to walk through the door.
Mhm.
So
I think, I mean, you see it with like Peloton now. I see these like
yeah,
short bits, these 15-second bits where the trainer is just going off and being themselves. And you could tell in that moment, like they were able to say what they wanted to say, you know? And
right.
I just felt like for a really long time, I had to like censor who I was to fit a brand that at the end of the day, if COVID happens, that brand go let me go.
Yeah.
You know, like at the end of the day, I'm my brand. and I'm always going to be
Right.
my brand because,
Well,
if the doors close, they're not cutting me a check. They're not going to be like, "Oh, we
right.
got you. Don't worry. Stay home. We're going to pay you." No,
No.
your brand is
Right.
like,
I think that was the thing with COVID is that it really did create a world where, like, if you were a trainer or in fitness at all, fitness personality at all, and you were associated and affiliated with a brand, and you had not yet figured out a way to differentiate yourself or make yourself your own brand, you either needed to do that or you were going to get left behind. And it's been interesting to see people that have done, what you've done versus, the folks that are almost having to play catch up or kind of looking at their peers and being like, well, crap, now these people are booking, events in big spaces, like they're booking things with the city, they're booking things with brands, like, and it's
yeah,
not that they're any less skilled, it's just that they did not capitalize
they
on that
got that.
opportunity to
No, they
differentiate
got the pit
themselves.
bull. They got the pit bull. I remember
Right.
I saw this group. I think it's like, I don't want to say it wrong, but I mean, I've seen people do stuff in parking lots and started step classes in parking lots with hundreds of
Right.
people. Like, oh no, I didn't do that.
There's still time.
Yeah, right. I know. I need to learn how to step because I love that workout. I love to watch it, and it's hard to find in Miami, but
Right.
yeah, like people just, they found a way, and I think
Right.
that's yeah, there's something to be said about that, and being your own brand is important because of those things alone. But yeah, sometimes you got to compromise. Sometimes you just got to put the full bikini on and don't twerk. Then sometimes you can't.
You'll not see me doing that, but that's mostly because I don't know how. And also, low key, I worry about appropriation all the time. But I do, and I think it's about being authentic. And I think it's about like understanding. I had a conversation with somebody recently. They were like, I'd really love it if you could play sound bowls in class. And I was like, I'm not trained to do that. And quite frankly, that's not how I teach yoga. Like I teach yoga in a way
Right,
that's accessible and demystified. And if you want someone to do a sound bath, we should find someone that does a sound bath and has like done the appropriate training for it because I want to make sure I'm not bringing something that's not authentic to the community, but also making sure that like we're giving space to the people that have like studied that or have, put
right,
themselves out there and associated with that. So yeah, it's like this constant place of there's a world where people want certain things, but you also need to be authentic in order for it to like resonate and for your true passion, like for what you do to come through. So good for you for, finding the space to like find your own authentic voice and, you know, putting yourself in a better position where now people need to realize that that's the brand. And if you want to work with
right.
me, then that's what it is.
That's what
And
it is.
that's what it is. You've kind of like referenced, like, your upbringing, the experiences you've had as a single mother. You've mentioned, the way that you had to sort of find a way during COVID, lots of different points in your life that have ultimately been contributors to kind of your constant drive. But I'm curious if you were to think about what drives you as an individual to do the things that you do every single day, if there's like one word that would be kind of like what you would associate with what gets you out of bed every single day.
Whew. I mean, instantly, my mind went to coffee. That definitely gets me out of bed every day, but, it's just like energy. It's like I think it's just like what I'm putting out is what I'm getting back, right? Like, you're
Hmm.
like it's a lot of things. It's my daughter. It's showing up for people every day. Even when I don't wanna show up for, like, other people, I show up, and then I automatically feel better about myself. It's almost like a selfish thing.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely say it's just like an energy thing. It's like, and I think about it. I'm like, is there ever a day where I haven't gotten up, right? Like, have I ever said
Right.
like, okay, I'm canceling everything? I haven't. And I don't know why
That's
not.
impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, today I had a client cancel and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go do yoga at the Standard and then I'm going to hang out there. And I was there with my friend and we were like bored. We're like, okay, like, should we shoot a video? Like, I don't even know how to be at the Standard at like business hours. It was like 9 a.m. I'm like, yo, I need to be working. I need to be writing an email, so I just definitely think it's just an energy thing with me. It's like vibrations. It's like, it, it, it just, it's like people. I just love like, I don't know. I love engaging with people. I love succeeding. I love, um, I love giving my daughter whatever she wants, like
Hmm.
I love having a house that and being able to take care of myself. I love like being able to just take care of myself. So even when I don't want to get up, it's like it's not an
Yeah.
option.
You're almost like driven by this like self-sufficiency that you've kind of created
Yeah,
for yourself.
like yeah, I think that's more what it is. It's like a yeah, driven. I'm trying to think of the word. It's like energy, it's like a frequency, it's driven, it's like I don't
Yeah,
know. I
frequency
don't
would
know.
make sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I do think that, and this is where some people may be like, I don't know, but like, there is something about if you're feeling like depleted or down, like as an instructor or somebody that like leads classes, or, teaches Pilates, yoga, I think like these things specifically, and you get around other people and you're able to cultivate a space where people are breathing together, moving together, and like a very like symbiotic like type space, that energy really does fuel you. I mean, I know it works
100%.
for me, right? Days where it's like I'm feeling shitty or it's, the anniversary of somebody in my family that's passed, whatever it is. If I go in and I teach a class, I leave there feeling 1,000 times better.
1,000,
And I know it's
100%.
because of the energy in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I teach a hot class and it's at 2 o'clock. That's like the worst. Like at 2 o'clock, it's like siesta o'clock.
Right.
And there are days where I'm like, "Phew, I'm tired." And I go in there and people are just moving and sweating and maybe they're like, "Ooh," or like, I don't know what it was, but then I'm like, okay, well, we're here, like and then it like changes, it shifts the whole mindset. So
Right.
I just think like just what it is waking up grateful. If you wake up
Hmm.
grateful, you're good. And every day it's like a day to be grateful for, I think. And I just surprise myself every single day, even on the days that I don't want to get up. I find a blessing in that. I think like whether it's like all my clients canceled, okay, cool, I'm gonna do some social media stuff, I'm gonna lay
Right.
with my dog, okay. you know I don't know. I just find, you got to find the good in stuff. I think life's too short not to. So
I love
I
that.
just can't dwell in the negative, or I'll dwell in it for a second. I'll post about it, or I won't post about it, or I'll tell some people about it. And then I got to move on. You got to get out of
Right.
it.
Right.
So,
100%. You teach so many different formats of fitness. What is your favorite?
uh, I'll tell you my least favorite.
Go ahead.
My least favorite is berries, which I love berries, by the way. I love you guys. Might need to
We
edit that a
love
little
berries,
differently.
but
Right. Which it's funny because that's the one I wanted the most, which by the way, like
right.
that is the one I wanted the most. That is the one that I struggle the most with teaching because you have to be a DJ. I feel like I don't know if I have imposter syndrome or what, but I feel like it's hard musically.
Yeah.
And you're teaching two classes at the same time. I feel like people are on a treadmill. You have to also be very safe. You have to watch people.
That's
And it's a dark room. So that one, I just feel more anxiety going into it. I also feel very satisfied though after. I
yeah.
think that is like that one, you know what it is that one I have to prep more for, I think. So
Yeah.
that one, it's more work. It's more work. I should say that.
Hmm.
And, but it is a big reward. So I do
Yeah.
that one is the hardest one for me, but I love pool Pilates. That one is a party in a pool.
I love watching that from a distance.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
I love
reminds
pool
me of
Pilates.
going to my grandmother's like retirement home and like
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
water aerobics with the old
exactly.
gals,
That's
but
exactly
it's
what I
like
wanted to
more
remind you of.
energetic.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
more
I
energetic.
love pool Pilates. I love hot Pilates because I can do it. That one I can do in my sleep. I just love Pilates and that whole, and I love actually morphing the Pilates with the berries and making it like a hit Pilates, like my
That's
own
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that the most challenging one for me to teach is berries.
Understood.
You got to be prepped.
Understood.
Can't just
It's a
wing it.
dark room. It's a dark
Yeah,
room. People
can't
are
just wing that.
lifting up heavy weights that they shouldn't be lifting for high repetition workouts, and it stresses me out as somebody that goes in there and takes class, if I'm being totally honest. So
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a
anyway,
lot. You
yeah.
gotta actually like, you gotta care, and you can't just come in there and be like, okay, grab a 20, do this, jump,
Yeah, I phone
sprint,
it in.
incline
Yeah.
17. You can't, and big ups to actually all the trainers there because I know the ones in Miami really care. And We go
Yeah,
through training a lot. They have me come in and do all these meetings all the time. And, I put a lot of effort into it, and
amazing.
it's
Yeah.
it's been the hardest one to teach. So that's how it
And
is.
I'm glad that you're there, glad that you got it. I feel like we could, just gab for a while because it's just fun to talk to you. But I'm curious if you could leave somebody with like one piece of advice, and it doesn't have to be somebody in fitness. It could just be any regular person off the street. If you had one piece of advice to instill in people, what would that piece of advice be?
Um, I think the big thing about me is that I'm a yes girl. Just say yes. I think eventually it gets into your path, Just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Keep doing it. Keep saying yes. Keep like don't give up, you know what I mean? Just keep going at it. I think eventually if you keep going at it, it hits. I was
Hmm.
doing nightlife, I was doing retail, I had like 7 jobs. I would take my daughter to the job. I was working at a pillow store. I was working at like every store on Purdy, which is where the Berries is. I worked on like
Right.
that entire block at one point.
That's
And
crazy.
I just kept going, kept going, and kept going. And eventually I think if you do what you want to do and you do it every single day, and I'm not going to say at your fullest because let's be
Right.
real, we're
That's
not always
hard.
going to give it 100%. Okay. But I do think that if you go and you show up and you're good at what you do, you're going to you're going to have to find, now it's like I'm at the point in my life where I got to find better things to want. I got to you got to constantly readjust. Before it was like, I just want to work with Nike. Okay. Worked with Nike. I just want to do a retreat. Okay. Did a retreat. I just
Right.
want to do this. I want to do my own retreat. I want to do a Pilates certification. I want to do this. I want to do that. So you got to just keep on elevating what you want. So
Hmm.
I think just don't give up. Like keep going at it. Anything you want that actually is worth it is going to be hard. So
I love that. You are the epitome of hard work, and it's absolutely paid off. And again, I'm really grateful that I like have this connection, and that we've had the opportunity to actually meet in person, because I do think you find people, in the social sphere that sometimes you wonder, are they as authentic as they are online, or are they who they are? And you 100% are. So
oh,
I
thank
loved
you.
working out with you. I loved having you here in DC. I want you to come
Yeah,
back.
thanks for taking me out to work
Yeah,
out. You
we
reached
we
out, you
want you
showed up
back.
too.
We want you to be there. We want you to come back.
Yeah, I'm coming
We want to come
back.
down to Miami. We want to do the things. If people want to like follow along, learn more about you, seek inspiration from the things that you do, participate in one of your classes, all of the above, like what is the best way for them to find you? Where should they look, and how can they get in contact with you?
Definitely Instagram is always good. If you're in Miami, I teach at Barry's, I teach at Mimi Yoga. I do pool Pilates once a month at the Moxie. I teach at Gotham. I do booty box, and at City Zero, I do a booty box on Sundays, the same day. But I can send you that whole schedule. Just DM me. Also, if you want to do my online workouts, you're not in Miami, I do a 12 o'clock class Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Zoom, and I post it after, and that's babymommafitness.com.
I love it.
That's it.
Thank you so much, Starr.
Thanks so much.
It's so good to like have you on. And I'm going to shout out Mimi Yoga is like one of my favorite places in Miami. So if you're hearing this, you must go. And you
Yeah.
at all like yoga or otherwise, be there. And yeah, thanks again for like making the connection, and inviting me out and all that good stuff. And I look forward to spending some more time sweating with you in the future.
Yes, definitely. We're going to make it happen. I'll be back in DC, so I'll see you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard, give us a follow on Instagram, drivenby_blank. Share it with your friends. Pass along the good word. And for the love of God, continue to acknowledge your passions. Let love be your guide, and always walk in purpose. Until next time, I'm Karen, and this has been a conversation about the intersection between passion and purpose.